Good evening. My name is Zoe Sue. I'm a junior at Temple City High School, and this is my second year on the Temple City Youth Committee. Our 11-member committee is active in discussing and addressing policy issues that are important to our youth and our community. Our generation is oftentimes referred to as the ones who will inherit the future of Temple City. That is why tonight's State of the City theme of building our future is very important and relevant, not only to us, but also for our entire city. It is my pleasure to introduce Mayor William Mann, who will be delivering tonight's address.
Thank you, Zoe. Good evening, Temple City. It is my privilege and honor as mayor to deliver tonight's State of the City address. Tonight is not simply a summary of what has happened in the past year. No, it is much more than that. It is a celebration of our community. It is a celebration of the spirit of Temple City that embodies everything that we do. It is the culmination of a lot of hard work and dedication from an amazing team of public servants. First, I'd like to recognize my fellow colleagues on City Council, Mayor Pro Tem Nanette Fish, Councilmember Cynthia Sternquist, Councilmember Tom Chavez, Councilmember Vincent Yu. I'd also like to recognize our city manager, Mr. Brian Cook, in the back. He leads an incredible team of city staff, and many of you are here tonight. Thank you. You are all instrumental to so much of what we have accomplished in the last year. I want to thank you for all that you do. Let's start by going back in time, back to May 30th, 1923, when Walter Temple purchased 400 acres of land east of San Gabriel and established the town of Temple. Originally recorded with the LA County Tax Assessor as Tract 6561, Walter Temple took this land, he divided it into individual lots, and he built a park facing Las Tunas. With this simple blueprint, the foundation was established for the place we call home today, Temple City. Now, times have changed a lot since our city's founding. Walter Temple founded our city during the Roaring 20s. The economy and the fiscal structure of local municipalities were much different then. Today, the growth of our regional economy can best be described as slow or even stagnant. We can see red flags popping up in our neighboring cities that are declaring fiscal emergencies in the face of an uncertain economic future. Yet we, as Temple City, we have made prudent financial decisions over the years that have placed us in a position of relative strength. Our reserves remain strong. Our operating budget is balanced year after year, and we have been able to maintain our city services without cuts so far. Looking forward, we will be facing challenges from many things, such as long-term infrastructure maintenance, pension and retiree medical costs, and other tough decisions on how we want to fund our most ambitious and our largest projects. I'm glad to say that with an established 5-year financial forecasting plan, we are well positioned to take proactive measures to ensure our city's financial solvency and fiscal health. By continuing to make prudent financial decisions, we position ourselves to take advantage of great opportunities, even in times of uncertainty. Now, the intersection of Las Tunas and Rosemead Boulevard is the perfect example of this dichotomy between uncertainty and opportunity. The southwest corner, more commonly known around town as the Kmart Center, stands as a reminder of the heydays of strip malls and big box retailers. In the past decade, the retail paradigm has witnessed a seismic shift towards online sales, leading many retail giants to begin closing their brick-and-mortar stores. While our corner has weathered through some of the recent retail fallout, it stands in stark contrast with adjacent commercial centers in our city that have undergone an economic renaissance, brimming with a wide variety of restaurants and new stores. It is clear that this area stands at the literal and figurative crossroads of our city's economic future. Last year, Council formally adopted the aptly named Crossroads Specific Plan, which provides standards and guidelines for future development of this area. It introduced the concept of mixed-use zoning, which is a versatile combination of higher density residential with commercial uses. So as the economy and our society change, so must our zoning policies. And with our recent efforts on the draft zoning code update, we are addressing these potential changes and have received a lot of interest and feedback from owners and developers alike. And they will play a very significant role in shaping the future of our city. However, cities no longer have the same redevelopment powers that were in existence many years ago. The state has taken that from us. While we cannot control private redevelopment, we presented our vision for the future in the form of our Crossroads Specific Plan. And we have clearly laid out the parameters for what can be done there and the limitless possibilities of what it may become. The biggest question we will face is whether there is someone out there who shares the same vision and can bring the site to its full potential. We all know great things happen when people come together and work towards a common goal. As a city, we've done our part in laying down the blueprint, the foundation for redevelopment. Who will rise to this occasion and seize this opportunity? Hopefully, we shall see in the near future. Another part of our city that is ripe with opportunity is our downtown core along Las Tunas Drive. Now, several months ago, Council evaluated a number of beautification concepts aimed at transforming our downtown core between Cloverly and Kaufman. Concepts included improvements such as repainting our lampposts, replacing benches and trash receptacles, enlarging and installing more pots and planters with more beautiful plants. We also discussed setting up programs to help stores upgrade their awnings, their signage, their facade. And we also looked at programs that encouraged outdoor dining and promotion of street cafes. And the price tag ranged from $250,000 to $2.5 million. Now, we decided several months ago that we wanted to evaluate potentially expanding these improvements to cover the entire stretch of Las Tunas to provide better aesthetic consistency and uniformity. Now, as we continue these discussions in the coming year, there are several fundamental questions about Las Tunas that we will be challenged with. First, we must ask ourselves, what is the primary goal of improving our downtown districts? Are we beautifying our streets for the sake of aesthetic improvement only? Or are we aiming to enhance public infrastructure to serve as a catalyst for economic development? If it's beautification for the sake of beautification, then we must be cautious and take note of a number of case studies in the Southern California area where cities have heavily invested in beautifying their historic downtown core, only to see it fall slowly into disrepair over time. So if we are seeking to bolster economic vitality, then we must establish a clear nexus between beautification and economic development. And it must be more than simply a one-time investment that will draw heavily on our city's reserves. We must identify things within our control and things that are outside of our control. As a city, we have taken the lead and we are showing our community what we can do to physically transform our downtown. However, do we have mechanisms in place to ensure the long-term financial sustainability and longevity of these improvements? the key piece to this puzzle lies within our business community. Will our business community rise to this occasion and seize this moment in joining us to reinvest in our downtown, to ensure its longevity? Do we have the courage to establish business improvement districts and other partnerships that show that we are all committed to the same goal? These are some of the key questions we will be facing as we continue this journey together in the coming years. Now, improving our downtown also comes with its own subset of challenges, and one that we work on perennially is parking. Nearly 2 years ago, we established a new parking lot at the corner of Temple City Boulevard and Workman, with the primary goal of relieving parking capacity of our downtown core. Now, to better understand this impact, we hired a consultant, Transpo, to perform an update of our downtown parking study. And this study is still in its draft stage, but there are several important points that I can share with everyone tonight. We basically concluded that our perceived parking challenges have less to do with the capacity of parking and more to do with how we manage our parking. And these are similar conclusions to our last study that was done back in 2012. Now, fortunately, we have already positioned ourselves to address these parking management challenges by completing the demolition of city-owned properties along Primrose. We will be improving accessibility to public parking in that area by joining two existing parking lots together. And on top of that, we get to add a small park to provide much-needed open and green space for our community. Now, as mayor, I also had the unique opportunity to join our staff by walking door to door along Las Tunas and asking our businesses face-to-face what their parking needs are from both an employee and a customer standpoint. Now, conventional wisdom tells us that 2-hour parking limits benefits certain businesses by encouraging turnover. However, we heard from a surprising number of businesses that have said that 2 hours is simply not enough, even for some restaurants. So as business models and customer behaviors evolve, what are we doing from a policy standpoint to address them? Have restaurants become more of a gathering place for our community than simply a place to grab a bite to eat? Are we considering the student who will stay at a boba tea cafe for many hours to study for their next exam? What about a dental appointment that's going to take more than 2 hours? As we grapple with these issues, we must ask ourselves whether our policies are helping or hindering our businesses, and whether we are truly listening to the concerns of our constituents. Now, when we built the new parking lot on Temple City Boulevard and Workman, there were concerns about its utility due to its distance from Las Tunas. Today, I'm happy to report that the same businesses that petitioned us to help with their parking situation are using this new parking lot every day, particularly providing parking relief for employees that work in that area. Now, this opens up more space for their customers in parking spots that are closer to their businesses. However, I believe we can still do better. Similar to how we're planning on joining parking lots on Primrose, can we also look at a similar situation in providing better continuity of parking lots in the same southeast corner of Temple City Boulevard and Las Tunas? Can we partner with private entities that allow for public use of private lots, adding additional capacity and, more importantly, continuity and accessibility to the public? We will find out. Another important question we can ask ourselves is whether parking will become less and less of an issue in the future with the meteoric rise of ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft. These entrepreneurs are challenging the conventional wisdom that ample parking capacity is a prerequisite for a successful downtown. And we are currently exploring a partnership with Lyft to provide a low-cost alternative to travel around town. And by providing more transportation choices for our residents, they will have the flexibility to choose what mode of transportation is more convenient and cost-effective for them at any given time. This will also indirectly relieve parking issues around our busiest commercial centers. Now, as we talk about revitalizing downtown and improving parking, we must realize that so much of our community's destiny is tied to the physical infrastructure of our city. Oftentimes, it is the infrastructure that we use the most that we take for granted. Take, for example, our roads. We drive on them every day to go to work, to go to the market, to run errands, to visit family and friends. It's easy to forget that there is a cost associated with keeping them in good shape. And we often get asked, why do we repave the roads that appear to be in better shape than others? It's at first a very counterintuitive concept, but let me try to explain with an analogy. Roads are very much like our cars. When we buy a brand new car, it's beautiful, it's shiny, it's a great pleasure to drive in a brand new car. However, over time, parts deteriorate. Standard wear and tear compels us to perform routine maintenance, like getting an oil change or changing your tires. We do regular maintenance to keep our car in good shape. Otherwise, you can only imagine how expensive it would be if you had no other choice, and that every time your car broke down, you had to buy a new one. The same applies for our roads. It is 20 times more expensive to completely rebuild 1 mile of our roadways than it is to perform routine maintenance to keep them in good shape. And with a limited budget, the fiscally responsible way forward to manage our roads is to make sure that our good roads stay in good shape and are routinely maintained so that they don't require an expensive reconstruction. Now, over the last couple of years, we have aggressively pursued an ambitious pavement preservation program. In fact, we have repaved over 25 miles of roadways since 2014. Our recent update to our pavement management plan showed that we have done an incredibly diligent job of keeping our good roads in good shape. However, our biggest challenge lies with roads that have already fallen into disrepair and require a complete reconstruction. And this is complicated by the fact that our current annual revenue sources for road maintenance is greatly lacking. And at our current rate, many of our residential roads will continue to deteriorate. And we are also challenged by the fact that much of this funding is provided and controlled by agencies that are outside of our local jurisdiction, such as state sources like SB 1. Now, these challenges are not unique to Temple City. Many cities in Los Angeles County face the same problem. However, we have a unique opportunity to ask ourselves, what is the fiscally responsible way forward? Do we kick the can down the road and ask our children and our grandchildren to solve our deferred maintenance costs? Or do we look deeper into ourselves and take upon that burden here and now and consider partnering together to generate revenue that is controlled by ourselves and not by an outside agency? Is the future of Temple City paved with robust infrastructure that serves the needs of our community? Or do future generations face a rocky road? Pun intended. This same challenge extends to all the infrastructure that our city owns and maintains. Our landscape and lighting districts that is responsible for our trees are facing similar issues. We are considering future uses of the Chamber of Commerce property. There are so many things on our wish list. And we all know that making these types of wishes come true require money. It requires prudent planning. And one of the most important tasks that council does is preparing the annual budget. Besides addressing the cost of doing regular city business, a budget can be seen as a reflection of a city's priorities. With more things on our wish list than we can pay for annually, it is important that we set priorities and goals. That is why I am proud to report that for the first time ever, we have developed a multi-year capital improvement projects plan that clearly outlines potential future projects that we may want to invest in. One of these projects was highlighted in our new general plan that was adopted 2 years ago. Eaton Wash is a flood control district that is owned and operated by the LA County Flood Control District. As a city that lacks a lot of parks and open space, our general plan looked at innovative ways of how we can redefine the way we think about public spaces. And in most cities, flood control channels are seen as areas of blight and neglect. However, we have seen other cities repurpose this space, transforming it into a vibrant green space for pedestrians and cyclists alike. So it pleases me to tell everyone that we have already engaged in preliminary discussions with the County of Los Angeles on potentially realizing the goals of our general plan. In the coming year, we hope to better establish the details of this potential partnership that hopefully will add a great public amenity that our residents can enjoy. Now, I briefly alluded to our lack of parks and open space in Temple City, but I also mentioned that we are creating new park space along Primrose. Now, what we lack in physical parks and open space, we make up with strong and robust programming. If our parks are the backbone of our community, then our programs and the volunteers and the people who dedicate so much of their heart and soul into these, they are truly the heart and soul of our city. This past year, we continue to uphold our great tradition of summer concerts in the park, an incredible lineup that draws over 1,500 people on Wednesday evenings. We have continued to provide top quality community events, such as the annual Easter egg hunt, the Halloween carnival at Live Oak Park, and Campapalooza. We have also continued to work with the Temple City Chinese American Association to host an annual Lunar New Year festival, which is one of the most important festivals for a lot of East Asian cultures. It is clear that for a city of our size, we provide excellent programs on a regular basis. We are also open to new ideas and concepts that we may not have done before. Sometimes that means we have to look outside and create partnerships that allow us to access resources that we might not be able to alone. This past year, we had the opportunity to team up with World Journal to bring the first ever Autumn Moon Festival to Temple City, a 2-day event that was filled with food and festivities. We attracted over 10,000 people to our city to partake in this joyous celebration of diverse cultures. Led by a fantastic lineup of endless performances, we were able to integrate many of our local organizations to showcase their skills and talents to a large audience. We were able to work with an incredible World Journal team, and in conjunction with our Parks and Recreation Department, we took our time-tested blueprint of our Camellia Festival and created a phenomenal event that surpassed our expectations. In the future, we hope to continue this path of success and add another event to the storied tradition of fine community programming right here in Temple City. Now, last year, we formally adopted the Senior Master Plan that was created by our advisory committee, which consisted of our residents and community members. This landmark plan acknowledged that in the coming decade, our senior population will gradually increase, and it is incumbent on us to begin proper planning to take care of them. In fact, we have already begun to take action on some of the goals established in the plan. Just several weeks ago, we've already formed the Committee on Aging, which will serve as an advisory body to City Council on assessing priorities and executing the goals within the plan. We have already partnered with Autumn Years to provide low-cost and delicious meals delivered to our seniors who may not be as mobile. Even our partnership with Lyft and other ride-sharing programs can present alternative modes of transportation that our seniors can utilize. Now, support of our seniors is not limited to simply improving access to programs and transportation. The issues are wide-ranging, from healthcare to housing, social activities and outings. We need to ensure that our seniors continue to be active members of our community and that they have a safe place to do so. Now, the safety and security of our beloved neighborhoods is always at the top of our priorities. Led by our brave deputies that make up our Temple City Special Assignment Team and the incredible leadership at Temple Station, our partnership with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has yielded great dividends for our city, ensuring that we live in safety and peace. We recognize that residential burglaries are the most prevalent crime that we have to contend with. especially considering that our city is 85% residential. That's why last year, we budgeted over $72,000 for overtime for our deputies to boost patrols as needed in an effort to stifle crime before it happens. And this is in addition to our regular contract with the Sheriff's Department that provides around-the-clock patrols of our neighborhoods. We also budgeted $20,000 for our popular Ring subsidy program so our residents can proactively take measures to protect their own homes. Our monthly Neighborhood Watch meetings continue to be well attended, averaging over 100 attendees per meeting. And the topics that we cover have evolved over the years. And much credit goes to our area leader volunteers who meet on a regular basis with our dedicated deputies to determine the best ways we can educate our residents on crime prevention. We now have over 2,600 mobile subscribers and 1,600 email subscribers to our weekly crime blotter reports. This shows that our residents continue to be proactively engaged in understanding public safety issues in our city. We've seen an increase in attendance at our monthly meeting with the Sheriff's Department. And considering that meeting is at 7 in the morning, I know, bright and early. The consistent presence of our residents at these meetings shows that we have a community that is dedicated to remaining vigilant of our neighborhoods and supportive of our law enforcement. All of these efforts have translated to a remarkable 22% decline in residential burglaries in 2018 compared to the previous year. That's one of many reasons why we continue to be ranked as one of the top 50 safest cities in the entire state of California, according to SafeWise, an independent organization that studies public safety issues. To all the men and women at Temple Station, to all the Neighborhood Watch volunteers and city staff, to all our residents who take an interest in improving the safety of our neighborhoods, I salute and commend you for your hard work. All of these things are even more incredible when you consider another context. The past several years, we have seen dramatic changes in state law that have affected the ability of our law enforcement to do their jobs. From changes to how we redefine felonies and misdemeanors to the state legalization of marijuana, the burden has fallen upon local entities to combat and adapt to these changes. We all know that crime knows no political boundaries, and that there are some things outside of our direct control. But we know this: we will not sacrifice the safety of our community in the pursuit of other objectives. When outside influences attempt to change the character of our neighborhoods in negative ways, we will stand. We will defend our communities in every way we practically can. Now, as we seek to better educate and inform our residents on public safety issues, we are constantly looking for new ways to improve the way we communicate with our constituents. We live in the age of the smartphone. Almost everyone has one, almost. Along with the increased prevalence of our mobile devices, we have also seen a sharp rise in the use of social media to obtain information. So we began looking at innovative ways we can expand our social media footprint and our online presence to not only provide important information, but also engage our residents in ways that we have not done so before. We used Facebook Live, and we started with a series known as Ask the Mayor. Residents asked us questions through email or through Facebook, and we would respond, kind of simulating a digital town hall meeting. This format then changed to a series of interviews that provided insight on different aspects of local government, from our Parks and Recreation Department to our Youth Committee. And it eventually evolved into a way for us to highlight many of the interesting businesses and organizations within our city, which we dubbed Man About Town. Credit to staff for playing a pun on my name. That wasn't my idea. And we discovered how ice cream was made at Cauldron. We recently featured our 2019 Camellia Festival Royal Court at City Hall. In addition to this, we also developed a series of videos, promotional videos called Eat TC, featuring some of our most unique restaurants in town. We learned about the unique cultural background behind the dishes served at Summer Rolls, and we discovered the rich family history behind Pepe's, tacos, taquitos, and burritos. We uncovered the great family traditions and recipes that made the hat an iconic fixture of Temple City. We learned about the origin of Green Zone's emphasis on fresh organic foods and its focus on creating a large variety of healthy and delicious dishes. We quickly realized that it was the people and stories that made these short videos compelling and interesting. That's also the reason why we interviewed local veteran Art Del Rey, who provided us with a fascinating perspective of his service for our country during World War II. This is part of our larger efforts to not only honor our veterans, but also preserve their rich stories and their legacies so that future generations may be able to learn from them. All of this media was available online through our city's website and social media feeds. It offered our residents the unique ability to learn more about their city at the convenience of their mobile devices and computers. While we would like more residents to come to our city council meetings on Tuesday evenings, we understand the challenges and time constraints that so many families face. It is our responsibility as local government to find new ways to engage our constituents beyond traditional forms of media. Now, we've covered a lot of ground tonight, and at the end of the day, perhaps the most important question to ask is why we do what we do. What's the purpose behind all this elaborate planning, these programs, and these projects? And the answer is actually very simple. And every year, at the end of February, we honor it with our Camellia Festival. Now, over the years, we've celebrated our hometown pride. We're reminded of the importance of chasing our dreams and finding things that inspire you and me. Just this past weekend, we celebrated 75 years of kids, camellias, and carnivals. And the key word there is kids. As we watched our community and our families come together to enjoy this timeless tradition, we remember that everything that we do for our children, for future generations to come. And if we want further proof of this, we simply look at how far our youth committee has come. Created as a way to encourage our high school youth to become more civically engaged, the accomplishments of our youth committee stands head and shoulders above every other city in the San Gabriel Valley. Some cities don't even have one. What distinguishes our youth committee from the rest is the fact that we empower them to make decisions that create real change. After completing a number of little libraries around town to encourage our young kids to read, and hosting workshops to bolster water conservation in our city, they've also worked with Metro to promote economic development through the use of public transportation. They recently embarked on a destination tour with Metro's senior managers and discovered for themselves how public transportation can shape the future. This past year, they also worked directly with our staff and our city engineers to conduct a traffic and pedestrian study around the high school. Now, this was an issue that they identified themselves as being important, and they took steps to create change. They identified this themselves. They had hands-on experience with traffic engineering field studies and design concepts, and their hard work culminated in a recommendation to change the roadway infrastructure and signage to better protect their fellow students that walk to and from school on a daily basis. The council listened and formally adopted these recommendations. Now, talk about making an impact on your community. If that isn't a clear-cut example of it, then I don't know what is. So please give our youth committee a big round of applause. Now tonight, we've shared a lot with bits and pieces of our plan to build a brighter future. When you look at each individual component by itself, you may miss the bigger picture. Whether you know it or not, each and every one of you here is a piece of that puzzle. And the only way that we can successfully build a brighter future together is if we come together as one community, as one city, as one family, and work towards a common goal. So let us build Temple City's future together. Thank you all for being here tonight. God bless you all, and good night.